So it's about to be good afternoon, वैसे. Morning, everyone. Morning. Yes, that's the response. Are you asleep? No. जागरूक रहो ना. जागरूक नहीं रहोगे तो the world will slip under your feet, as they say. I'll start with my, indebtedness to our honorable guest today. Sir, we duly are indebted to you for your words of wisdom that you shared with our students. They were truly valuable in terms of you've given them enough threads to follow, and they have to, kind of lap onto it now to understand what, implications and legal implications AI is going to bring about in their lives. And nobody can possibly, think of. And मैं normally कहता हूँ, एक समुद्र मंथन जब हुआ था ना, तो उसमें विष भी निकला था और बहुत कुछ अच्छा भी निकला था. It is a phase in human history where there's a big churn which is happening. And when the churn happens, obviously there'll be good things coming out of it and equally poisonous things coming out of it. How we regulate our lives and, the intention of this breakthrough that people started their journey with. Alan Turing was the first who kind of, began this artificial intelligence, journey. And I don't know how many of you, sir mentioned one movie. I can name 5, 10 of them. In fact, very inspiring movies that you should see. So how many of you have seen Imitation Games? Seen it? Impressed by it? Bachelor Park? So what was it about and how did it save? The World War II only ended because there was this scientist, Alan Turing, working on something to break a machine which was called Enigma, which if normal computational, mathematicians would have started decoding it, would have taken 55 million combinations and I don't know, maybe 30 to 40 years to break it down. And the human history would have been wiped out on the face of this earth. So he used it for good purposes. Oppenheimer, how many have seen? Okay, so what is the moral dilemma faced? Einstein fought with Oppenheimer, you know that? And why did he fight for that? Because he said you are using science for wrong reasons. And I'm not with you in this journey. And it exhibits that science can be a boon and a bane both. It depends on how we are wanting to use it and what good purposes do we use it, put it to. We can do it for achieving, the sustainable development goals that have been given out. Fine. There's a lot of artificial intelligence happening there which are tracing deforestation on day-to-day basis. They are monitoring ocean, currents, how they are impacting environment, climate. Everything is being observed because, and why did we need artificial intelligence for that matter? Humans have brain. Why are we teaching machines to be like humans? I'm not talking, I'll come to the moral dilemma about emotions and the empathy and the human touch that machines need to exhibit. Because ultimately what we are creating out, and there are, now, clones being developed, I should not go on to say that, fine, which would be far more advanced in terms of understanding what human emotions are. Fine, and you will not even get to know on the other side whether you are interacting with a human or you are interacting with a machine. So that's the level of advancement that people have, taken this to be. Obviously, there are negative stories around it. I would not say, लेकिन churn में जब आप होते हो, एक मंथन जब चल रहा होता है, you have to quietly observe and see, and be on the side which is always right, and see what best can be drawn out of this, and have meaningful, dialogue with society. So when I say कि everything is being mapped, the computational power that was thought of, because now chips have started going smaller, the computational capacity has started growing, in terms of what it can achieve, how faster it can achieve. So think of a mini brain when we invented the first supercomputer. Fine, look at the kind of brain that we gave to that particular computer for doing very complex computations which could have taken humans 100 years, maybe 200 years. We did it in 10 minutes, maybe 50 minutes for that matter. And that is what the power is being harnessed for. And I'm not saying it is being exploited, it is being harnessed for. And when it gets harnessed for right reasons, you will see miracles happening in this, world of AI. Yes, there are pitfalls when we talk about it. Fine. iRobot, how many have seen? You have seen, but then nothing, I don't see many hands. It's an old movie, fine. My generation, possibly Terminator when it came. Fine. iRobot is a movie where it shows the real dilemma, moral dilemma that really happens. So it is about 3 laws, fine. So what was the name of the person? Spooner, Detective Spooner, fine. But then what were the 3 robotic laws that they were trying to create? So they created 3 robots which were kind of given out to citizens. There are 3 cardinal laws of Asimov, something. I am forgetting the name, to be very honest. Those are the first 3 laws given by where a robot cannot harm a human being. In case it's violate rule number 1, it has to go to 2 and 3 and so on and so forth. Just check on it. You will get to know what the 3 laws are. Now, this particular detective is against robots. Why? Because he, unfortunately, his car gets drowned into a river, and there's a small child, 14-year child, traveling along with him with a seatbelt on. There's a robot who comes to rescue them. Within the computational, thing, he saves the detective, who's quite elder, and didn't save the girl child because the probability of saving the girl child was less. So he thought that only one life can be saved, and that can be the highest probability of saving the life is that of the detective. That is where the human, moral dilemma would lie now, because he got, really disturbed that if given a choice, I was a human, I would have saved the child and not saved an elder. And that is where, how ethically we have to think about when we develop AI, that how are we going to make this work for humans to actually see it in its place. So that is one part. But then this is an extreme case. We have still not seen the evolution happening. Subbarao sir mentioned about, Chat GPT. I know it's a very limited versions are there that they have floated out. And I don't say, and I always say, don't close your minds to any new things that comes your way. If you are doing that, fine, you have to experiment, you have to see it fail, you have to, know the nuances that it, possibly carries around it, and then come to a conclusion at what it can be offered. And why was it stopped? Because 42,000, developers, algorithm developers on their own self-regulation, they assembled, fine, and they decided that we need to put a halt on AI development beyond this point, because we need to now first decide on the ethical issues rather than, keep developing something which will tomorrow be disastrous. Because enough signals were being sent out, there were, conflicting views which were being thrown to the public at large, and there was a lot of anxiety around what artificial intelligence can do to them. So they purposely decided that let's put things on halt. Fine. You will be using on day-to-day basis Google to Netflix to everything. It is all based on algorithms. But then you're not scared. You feel happy about it. And you find the next movie on your chart and you say, wow, that's what I was looking for and it's there. So why are you not averse to the idea of, artificial intelligence working in a way that it can be helpful to human mankind? So there are a lot of opportunities for law students as I see. Biden, possibly administration had called up these 7 giants, the pioneers in AI. Fine, so Microsoft obviously is there. There's 7 of these companies, 7 giants. They were called and they were given a self-declaration that we will develop AI much more responsibly and adhere to the guidelines that will be given to us by the government. Who gave them those guidelines? Who forced them into that situation? No, nobody did that. So a lot of fears will be set, aside when we see much more, of this being done in a better way. There are much more positive stories that will come out your way, and you'll realize that it can work miracles. where a computational power, where an artificial intelligence being put, why do we need so many brains to be connected? Because we have failed as a society to give solutions. We don't realize that as human mankind, we do not have a single solution to be offered, and the complexity that it involves requires that computational power. Yes, I'm little scared about the machine learning part of it, because anything which is self-evolutory can be really scary. That can possibly lead to violations, because it decides on its own, it evolves on its own, and it takes its own turn as to what should be the final solution. So they may not consider you to be, so they do not decide on ethical grounds then. They purely decide on algorithm that have been given to them. So you have to be very clear as to, and as I say, there's a lot of opportunities that are being offered for law students especially, because it is still being nascently developed. You can possibly, and social sciences has much more, concerns, because they talk about, moral issues and other things. You look at pure science. Physics is taking full advantage of it. Chemistry, biochemistry is taking full advantage of it. Fine. They have no moral dilemmas as such. Yes, it has certain dilemmas with regard to when it comes to saving a life. Fine. But then it's very limited to that context. Rest, I think they are okay and they're going ahead with it. As Sir said, our judiciary, possibly, we know the number of pending cases. If somebody can develop an AI solution for cases, for the under trials, who are still lodged in a jail, not able to find, some kind of a solution. Maybe if some kind of, at a lower level, I'm not saying that you, do a trial for hardcore criminals, but then smaller crimes can possibly be done through AI. Why can't they be resolved and given a bail on AI-based, judgments? So, but then, yes, obviously the credibility has to be established. We have to ensure that the source code is clear. There has a lot of transparency built around, those, the algorithms that are being done by these companies. So that gives you public trust that no, something is there, but then it is visible to our eye. 3 stories, which one is, as I said, iRobot is one good example where there was this moral dilemma. Second is, I don't know, Washington Post carried out a story which kind of, strike me, is about, there's a deep fake concept. I don't know how many of you know that. So you can do videos, you can do voices, you can do anything. So anybody who's using Instagram, your 30-second, voice clip can be taken over, and they can develop your, their own. And there was, in US, it was reported that they have started calling their parents and said that we have been arrested, we need this kind of money, please transfer it immediately. And people were cheated all throughout, because the parents could not differentiate their children's voice. So yes, it has its negative sides. I'm not saying I would not support anything of this nature, but then yes, there are negative sides to what is being developed. People are calling, the 24 to be the year of democracy. 4 major democracies are going to elections. The kind of social media presence that these parties and, everybody has, and the influence that they're wanting to exert on, the voters. And videos are being manipulated. There are enough reports which are, coming through that there is what they call you, there's a brain hack which has happened with you. You don't even realize. You are being exposed to information which you don't even know that you have been hacked and your brain has been hacked, and you are kind of, acting in a very mechanical way. That is the kind of risk that AI runs. And yes, they can rig elections. Last US election, possibly, where Russia was being blamed for rigging a lot of these, elections, has happened. Biases, as Sir mentioned, there are biases in recruitment. There are biases. Females not being preferred over male. Fine. The blacks, and I'm taking these because Indian context, we still do not have enough stories around us, sir. So that is how the stories are being done. This is how, our racial biases are being passed on. So tomorrow, you never know who will do that. So what we need is enough measures to regulate, be more open about what we are doing in those algorithms. Fine. I think that is the way out, rather than get scared of it. And one professor, and he's closer to us ever since the inception, Professor Satgopan, said we have moved from, brawn power to brain power. there's a lot of opportunity around us. Why do you want to miss out on this opportunity? So don't get scared. Your jobs are not going anywhere. They'll facilitate you. So either you become a participant or you be there on the receiving end. Today is the day when you start participating. Events like this possibly allow you to participate in the manthan that is going on, to give your bit to the algorithm makers and tell them, no, we want these kind of things to be put in place. So third-party audit, fine, an open audit, a transparent way of giving out algorithms so that people know why are they being done. Another interesting story is, again from Washington Post, about gun shooting in San Francisco. So there are 392 people shortlisted by an algorithm for a probable risk of, gun shooting incident to happen. So that is predictive policing, as they call it. Within predictive policing, what they are trying to do is that they shortlisted this using some algorithm. The algorithm was so faulty that people who were not even, to be considered were put on the list. And they were arrested on a preventive measure. They went to the court and they said, this is how, and we don't even know why they have arrested us. And they say, no, you are a probable, shooter for tomorrow. The only thing that they had was a gun, licensed gun. So somebody possibly at the back end of it made an algorithm which didn't even recognize and differentiate between who will be the actual shooter, why would they shoot you, fine. So there's as sir mentioned extensively about some professor. There's some professor in Stanford, Papa something. I'm still you Google it out. You'll get to know these stories, fine. And it's not my Google source. I'll be very honest with you. So my thing is that he had come out with a paper, research paper, saying that anybody who possesses a gun has this probability of, a gun shootout. But then that was a research paper. It is not something which is actually proven. And the algorithm maker kind of took a cue from there and started making algorithms on it. And people who were not to be arrested got arrested. So medical science has benefited from AI. Fine, there'll be a big wave coming in. Climate change, as I said, SDG goals. Most of them would be, kind of tracked in time, real time. Fine. Obviously, there are concerns about data privacy and other things, but then you are allowing it. You give a permission, any app that you install, you allow. Knowingly, unknowingly, you're giving them permission. Yes, I allow. Please go ahead. And the same case was made in Tesla self-driven cars. When Tesla self-driven cars were proclaimed to be perfect cars on highway, accident was met. So there are 799 reported accidents so far. 17 have died so far. Fine. One of the dead family contested it, that these cars are not safe, the algorithms don't work, and we could have prevented this had it been not a self-driven car. Now Tesla goes on to prove in the court of law that the algorithm is perfect. You run a simulation, fine, get the algorithm maker also tagged in. We are only a car maker, the algorithm maker is somebody else. Fine, and you check on the accuracy. It was found that if it would have been driven manually, 1.7 second time was the time if somebody would have applied the brake, he could have saved his life. And these are litigations which are going on in courts now. So read a lot about what is happening in the world. Swamiji always used to say, there should be a blending of Western ideas and Eastern philosophy. So we need more Buddhas. We need technology, but then we need Buddhas who can differentiate between what's right and wrong, and what's ethical and what's not ethical. Fine. And algorithms can be trained. They said, when computers came in, they said garbage in, garbage out. So yes, algorithm training is similar. If you put in garbage, if you put in bad data, you'll get a bad algorithm and a bad result out of it. So it is a greater responsibility on people who are developers, fine, and who are into this part of creating these algorithms, that they need to be much more responsible citizens, and the regulation has to come around them. We can talk about these smaller things coming in because there is no regulation, so people are throwing out a lot of ideas to and giving out products. There are companies, Fortune 500 companies, who have saved billions because of algorithms, because of the plant locations, they have automated everything. Yes, there was a job loss. I would not say that it did not have a collateral cost to it. Fine. So labor laws and other things came in picture, but then there can always be a way of protecting it, or gradually rolling out these kind of products that are being developed by these companies. I think I'll leave you with that thought. Enough has been given to you. Sir has given you enough. Both sirs have given you enough. You have many more, technical chairs coming in. More, they'll go dwell it at much more deeper level. But then thank you, Rashmi ma'am, for this opportunity. Subha Rao sir. Sir, once again, thank you for all this graciousness of yours that you have given your time and shared your thought with our students. Thank you, faculty members and dear students. Thank you so much.